Hello there, welcome to the Sleepless Scientist. Wherever you are, on a train under moonlight, curled beneath blankets, or lying with your eyes open in the hush of midnight, thank you for joining me. What time is it where you are? Drop it in the comments. Now let's begin a journey not through distant galaxies or the bottom of the ocean, but through a world that begins inside your own mind. This story is about what happens when you stop sleeping, and fair warning, you probably won't survive this. The first night without sleep doesn't feel like a disaster. Not yet. It's more like a dare, like you're challenging time itself to catch up with you. The minutes tick by a little slower than usual. Your body sends whispers, not screams. A yawn here, a dull ache behind your eyes there. The world seems coated in soft fog, but you're awake. Still awake. Your body has spent millions of years perfecting the cycle of sleep and wakefulness. On a typical night, somewhere around 9 or 10 p.m., melatonin would begin to flood your bloodstream, your core temperature would drop and your brainwaves would start to shift into alpha rhythms, the signals of relaxation and readiness. But tonight that gentle wave is missing. You've interrupted it. So instead your body launches Plan B, cortisol, the stress hormone, the thing that floods your system when you're in danger, preparing you to fight or flee. Which is ironic, because you're not moving, you're just lying there, but your body acts like a predator is watching. You check the clock. 3 o'clock a.m., your stomach churns slightly. You think you hear a door creak. You try to focus, but your thoughts begin to drift out of order. A grocery list collides with the face of your third-grade teacher. You remember a dream from a week ago, even though you're still awake. Your brain, even now, is testing sleep's boundaries. Historically, humans have pus. He'd passed sleep before, soldiers in trenches, explorers in the Arctic, astronauts aboard the ISS. In 1964, a high school student named Randy Gardner stayed awake for 11 days straight just to see what would happen. The first day, he was fine, chatty even, curious. On the second, he began forgetting words. By the third, he struggled to do simple math. By the sixth day, he was hallucinating and paranoid. His body felt foreign. Still, he survived, but most don't go that far. After one full night without sleep, your blood sugar regulation weakens. Your ability to recognize facial expressions begins to erode. You become socially blunt, less empathetic. Strangely, this first night often feels euphoric. Some people describe it as a mental high. Thoughts race, colors sharpen, and your sense of reality stretches. Your body is operating on emergency power, and the adrenal surge makes everything feel briefly electric. It's the same reason early sleep deprivation was sometimes used to treat depression, though the effect is temporary and always followed by a crash. You might notice your limbs feel slightly heavier now, or lighter. It's hard to tell. You stretch your fingers and wonder if they moved a moment too late. In ancient times, healers believed sleep was a gift from the gods, a nightly retreat into the underworld where the soul was restored. To defy that gift was to risk madness. In modern labs, we call it a circadian imbalance, but the truth is just as poetic. Your body isn't just tired, it's disoriented. Because at the cellular level, every clock is ticking differently. Your liver still thinks it's yesterday. Your brainstem thinks it's tomorrow. Your heart no longer knows when to rest. And yet, you are still awake. It's nearly dawn now. Your pupils don't constrict as they should. You blink slower. The sun begins to rise and everything inside you resists. Because sleep is more than rest. It is maintenance. And tonight, you've skipped the repair crew's shift. But there's still something else happening, something subtle, almost beautiful, a quiet rebellion in your gut. The bacteria living there, yes, trillions of them, also follow circadian rhythms, and now, confused by your stubborn wakefulness, they begin to shift their populations. Some increase inflammation, others produce strange metabolites not usually active at this hour. The result, you feel off, a little nauseated, a little dizzy. This is your microbiome joining the protest. Fringe experiments have tried tracking the personality of gut flora during sleep deprivation. One small, unpublished trial found that certain strains of firmicutes spike after just 24 hours without sleep, bacteria typically linked to anxiety and sugar cravings. Scientists still argue whether these microbes are passengers or drivers in the sleepless spiral, but something deep inside you knows the answer, and still, you do not sleep. The room grows brighter. Birds chirp outside. You've made it through one full night. And technically, you're alive, but tomorrow will not be so kind. The sun is up now. Its light cuts across your room like a blade, illuminating dust in the air, the clutter on your desk, the shadow under your eyes that wasn't there yesterday. You sit up slowly, maybe out of habit. Your joints crack with a stiffness that shouldn't be there. You haven't been running or lifting or working hard. You've just been awake, which, in its own quiet way, is work far more exhausting than anything else. The hormones in your body are scrambling to adapt. Think of them like a symphony, each instrument timed perfectly to the rhythms of your day. Sleep is the conductor. Without it, the music turns to chaos. Cortisol, the stress conductor, remains unnaturally elevated. Melatonin, the hormone that gently shepherds your body toward rest, has all but vanished. Serotonin, dopamine, adrenaline, they are all confused. Some overfire, others retreat. This hormonal chaos starts with your hypothalamus. Deep in your brain, this almond-sized structure governs much of your internal balance, temperature, hunger, emotion, and crucially, your circadian rhythm. The suprachiasmatic nucleus within it is your body's master clock, a cluster of about 20,000 neurons syncing to light and darkness. Normally, it keeps everything in perfect time, but now the light outside is meaningless because the darkness never brought sleep. And that throws everything off. You stand up a little slowly. Your balance isn't perfect. Your limbs don't quite feel like yours. That's because your vestibular system, the inner ear structures that help you stay upright, are beginning to show signs of stress. Not because they're damaged, but because your brain is less coordinated in interpreting their signals. Every system in your body is cross-talking now, tripping over itself, compensating, recalibrating, failing. You make breakfast, or maybe you forget. Hunger is a strange echo in your stomach, no longer a clean signal. That's because two hormones, ghrelin, which makes you feel hungry, and leptin, which tells you you're full, have already started to misfire. After just one sleepless night, ghrelin surges, leptin drops, and you may feel ravenous even if you've eaten more than usual. This isn't just a craving, it's your biology trying to bribe you. Sleep loss is an energy crisis, and your body is desperate to fuel itself any way it can. So it whispers for sugar, fat, salt, fast, high-calorie foods. But that's not the only trick it plays. Your insulin sensitivity is already reduced. That means your cells aren't responding to glucose properly, so your pancreas is pumping out more insulin to compensate. Over time, this can lead to insulin resistance, prediabetes, or worse. But right now, it just means your blood sugar is unpredictable. You may feel jittery one moment, sluggish the next. Ancient physicians believed illness came from imbalance among the body's humours: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. Today, we've mapped many of those functions to hormones and chemical pathways. And by that logic, sleep loss is a massive humoral collapse. You try to focus on something, an email, a message, a to-do list, but your thoughts are slippery. Concentration feels like holding water in your hands. You read the same sentence 5 times, and still the meaning doesn't land. This is not fatigue, this is neurochemical interference. Inside your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, decision-making, and impulse control, dopamine levels have been thrown off their normal rhythm. You might feel anxious or bored, agitated or indifferent, cycling through all of them in a single hour. This is because the balance of dopamine and norepinephrine is being stretched in strange directions, and your brain is having trouble deciding what deserves your attention. Even worse, your amygdala, the brain's emotional command center, is becoming more active. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate it is weakening. This means that you're more reactive, emotionally volatile, and likely to misinterpret neutral events as threatening. You bump your elbow on a table. Anger. You miss a green light. Panic. A friend doesn't reply. Paranoia. The emotional filter is breaking down. Still you push forward. Maybe you drink coffee, thinking it will help, and for a brief moment it does. Caffeine binds to adenosine receptors in your brain, blocking the chemical that signals fatigue. But adenosine is still building up underneath. Like a flood behind a dam, you're not eliminating tiredness, you're postponing its collapse. In 2017, a study from the University of California, Berkeley, used brain imaging to show that sleep deprivation impairs communication between the amygdala and the medial prefrontal cortex. The less sleep, the more extreme the emotional response is. But scientists still argue whether it's this lack of connectivity that causes mood disorders, or if pre-existing conditions are simply amplified by sleeplessness. The debate is ongoing. What isn't up for debate is how clearly your emotions are shifting. Even your skin feels different, a little tighter, a little more reactive. That's because cortisol, now chronically elevated, breaks down collagen and increases inflammation. You're not imagining the puffiness, the redness. Your face is showing you the inside story. Somewhere in history, this would be the part of the story where people invoked demons. In medieval times, chronic insomnia was attributed to spiritual unrest or witchcraft. In Victorian medical literature, it was labeled nervous exhaustion. Today, we know it's a neuroendocrine event, but maybe all of those explanations are metaphors for the same thing. A body no longer fully tethered to the cycles of night and day. You glance at a clock. Maybe you're already losing track of time. That's not just perception, it's chemical. Your suprachiasmatic nucleus regulates time not only through external cues like light, but through internal pulses of gene expression that rise and fall in precise patterns. When you skip sleep, the machinery that governs your sense of time slips out of phase. Your internal calendar begins to stretch, wobble, even pause. Now imagine this across every system. Your digestion moves slower, but you feel hungrier. Your breathing becomes shallow, but your heart races. Your pupils dilate more than they should, letting in too much light. Your blood vessels constrict in your fingers, but swell in your face. It's like listening to an orchestra where every instrument is playing in a different key, and you, the conductor, have left the stage. Even your dreams haven't left you alone. After one night of missed sleep, something called REM rebound begins to build, a biological hunger for dreams. Your body is planning to make up for them the next time you finally sleep. But for now, your brain may try to simulate REM waking. You'll start seeing things at the edges, hearing faint sounds that aren't there. Your thoughts may loop or echo. It feels subtle now, but it's only just beginning. As the morning turns to noon, the sunlight feels unnatural. Your eyes don't adjust as easily. Melanopsin, the photoreceptor responsible for syncing your clock to the light, is confused, misfiring. The daylight hurts. The shadows feel better. And yet still, you do not sleep. You tell yourself you'll just push through one more task, one more meeting, one more hour. Your mind agrees. But deep inside your cells, the damage is already underway. Because while you may have made it through the first night, your biology is now in revolt, and the next wave is coming. Midday fades behind you. A long afternoon spills across the walls in golden strips. You sit in its warmth, but it doesn't soothe you. Instead, it casts long, strange shadows that feel just a little too still, a little too silent. You blink and realize you've been staring at nothing for minutes. Your mind, ever faithful, is beginning to lag. By now, the fog in your brain is no longer just tiredness, it's interference. Neurons, your brain's electrical messengers, are misfiring, not because they're dying, not yet, but because they're exhausted. Imagine your brain like a city at night, each thought a spark of light, a train crossing the grid. With rest, the city pulses smoothly. Without it, the tracks twist, traffic jams, lights flicker. Some trains go in circles, others stop entirely. This is cognitive impairment, and it begins earlier than most people expect. After just 24 hours without sleep, your reaction time is equivalent to someone with a blood alcohol level of 0.19%, above the legal driving limit in most countries. But the worst part? You don't realize it. Self-assessment fails dramatically when sleep deprived. Your confidence stays high even as your competence falls apart. That means you make more mistakes and trust them. Inside your hippocampus, the region responsible for forming new memories, there's a bottleneck. Your brain is no longer encoding short-term memories efficiently. It's like trying to copy words onto a page that keeps vanishing. You might hear someone speak and forget what they said halfway through. You reread a message and still don't remember the sentence before. Your thoughts loop. Tasks vanish midstream. The ancient Greeks told tales of Lethe, the river of forgetfulness in the underworld. The dead who drank from it lost all memory of life. Sleep deprivation is a modern Lethe, and you're wading in it now. In one mainstream study by the University of Pennsylvania, even moderate sleep deprivation, around 4 to 5 hours per night over several days, caused attention lapses, memory decline, and degraded moral judgment. Not just sleepy mistakes, but actual shifts in ethical decision-making. You become more impulsive, more risk-seeking, less capable of empathy. Scientists still argue whether this effect arises purely from prefrontal cortex fatigue or whether deeper brain circuits, perhaps those governing mirror neurons or oxytocin pathways, begin to fail in tandem. But the outcome is clear. You are no longer fully yourself. The frontal lobe, the executive of your mind, is slowing its commands, but your default mode network, a web of brain regions associated with internal thought, daydreams and rumination, becomes overactive. That's why your mind drifts. You begin to think in circles. Worry feels more real. Memories replay out of order. Some people even start inventing memories without knowing it. And while this is happening, your body struggles to keep up. Your muscle coordination falters. You reach for your keys and fumble them. You type the wrong word 5 times. You knock over a glass without understanding how. That's because the cerebellum, which handles fine motor control, isn't receiving smooth input anymore. Signals from your limbs to your brain are delayed. It's like trying to dance with a song that keeps skipping. Even speech begins to crumble. You may slur slightly, forget common words. This phenomenon is called semantic drift, when your brain can't quickly retrieve language due to reduced neural firing rates. It happens in stroke, in neurodegenerative disorders, and yes, in the sleep-deprived. Think back to Randy Gardner, the teenager who stayed awake for 264 hours. By day 3, he was struggling to form coherent sentences. He forgot what he was saying mid-sentence. At one point, he became convinced he was a football player. When asked to subtract 7 from 100, he stopped at 65, then couldn't remember what he was doing. He didn't just forget math, he forgot that he had forgotten. But still, he smiled, he joked, he felt mostly fine. Because again, the first systems to fail are the ones that notice failure. And now, here you are, a day and a half in, trying to function, trying to stay you. The ancient Egyptians believed the soul had 5 parts. One of them, the bay, traveled during sleep, so that dreams were a kind of spiritual roaming. Without dreams, they feared the soul would become trapped in the body. Tonight, your bar does not fly, and so your spirit remains, caged, increasingly anxious, pacing its walls. By now, your brain's glymphatic system has also been sabotaged. This is your neural plumbing, channels that clear away metabolic waste, including toxic proteins like beta amyloid, which is linked to Alzheimer's disease. This system only works efficiently during deep sleep. So as you stay awake, your brain literally accumulates biological garbage, and you begin to feel it, a subtle pressure, a throbbing behind the eyes, not quite pain yet, but something building. A 2020 study from Sweden showed that after just one night without sleep, tau protein levels in cerebrospinal fluid increased significantly. These proteins are implicated in neurodegenerative conditions. The researchers were cautious. They didn't declare this dangerous after a single event, but they noted the cascade effect, how a little sleep loss today can ripple forward into long-term damage. But fringe scientists, sleep hackers, lucid dreamers, bio-optimizers, some still try to play with sleep. They argue that the body can adapt, that polyphasic sleep, sleeping in small bursts, can substitute for longer rest. Yet most mainstream neurologists disagree. They warn that sleep's benefits aren't modular. You can't cut it up and still expect the magic to work. Meanwhile, your brain waves are changing. You're technically awake, yes, but bursts of theta activity, normally seen during light sleep or deep meditation, begin to appear. Your brain is leaking sleep into your consciousness, and soon it won't be leaking, it will be flooding. You sit quietly now, The light outside fades again, another night looms, you haven't truly slept in over 36 hours, and while you might feel a second wind, your body rallying its final reserves, that's just adrenaline and cortisol scraping the bottom of the barrel. The debt is too great. A bird chirps once outside. You flinch. The sound is too loud, too sharp, because your auditory cortex has become overreactive. Sensory gating, the brain's ability to filter unimportant sounds, is breaking down. In World War II, radar operators trained for long shifts would often report phantom signals, false blips, voices, even music. At the time, they called it wire ghosting. Now we know it was sensory hallucination from prolonged wakefulness, and you're not far from that same edge. You close your eyes just for a second, not to sleep, just to rest. But that second stretches longer than you think, because your brain is doing something without your consent. Microsleep. Tiny involuntary lapses, 1 to 10 seconds at a time, during which your eyes may remain open, your body upright, but your brain goes dark. You wake up, if that's the right word, and don't remember the last 30 seconds, or where you were in your thoughts, or how long you stared at the wall. You are losing pieces of yourself, and it's only getting worse. You blink again, just once, just a blink. But when your eyes open, your thoughts aren't where you left them. For a moment, you forget what you were doing. Then you remember, or think you do. But the memory feels faint, as if it's printed on mist and already being erased by the wind. This is the quiet descent. Now the world doesn't just feel tired, it feels wrong. The walls around you seem slightly off angle. Shadows stretch the wrong way, colors feel too bright or too dim or both at once, and beneath your skin there's a current, like static, a hum of something, not quite fear, not quite energy, but close enough to both that it makes your chest tighten. Emotion is beginning to take control. Your brain, having burned through logic and focus, is leaning now on the primitive circuits, regions deeper, older, more volatile. The amygdala, already more active since your first missed night of sleep, is now firing with fewer restraints from the prefrontal cortex, which by this point is sluggish, slow, and barely holding the reins. That means your emotions, every one of them, become exaggerated. Anger doesn't simmer, it erupts. Sadness doesn't fade, it floods. Joy is jittery. Laughter comes too fast and feels too sharp. You're a passenger inside yourself now, and the driver is drunk on exhaustion. Even minor things trigger you. The sound of someone chewing, the click of a pen, a slightly raised eyebrow. You snap or retreat or break into tears. You're not weak, you're not dramatic, you are chemically overwhelmed. Beckel. Pause, here's what's happening behind the scenes. The serotonin system, your internal mood regulator, is losing its footing. Sleep deprivation reduces serotonin receptor sensitivity and slows the reuptake cycle. That throws your entire mood regulation into chaos, and your brain, in desperation, begins releasing dopamine in short, unstable bursts, trying to stabilize you. But instead of helping, it only deepens the swings. You feel wired and fragile, euphoric and terrified. You oscillate between feeling everything and feeling numb. Historically, this emotional fragmentation has fascinated and terrified people. In some indigenous cultures, night vigils were used to bring about visions, clarity, even revelations. The heightened emotional state caused by sleeplessness was considered spiritual, something that tore away the veil between this world and others. In modern times, we call it emotional dysregulation, but maybe both are right, because tonight something inside you is changing. You may feel watched, or judged, or suddenly alone. Your inner monologue fractures, becomes unfamiliar. You doubt your decisions, your relationships, your memories. This isn't imagination, it's amygdala hyperactivation paired with prefrontal suppression, a combination shown in fMRI scans to correlate with increased anxiety, paranoia, and rumination. And here's the worst part. Your body reacts to this emotional stress as if it were real danger. Your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, is running hot. Heart rate up, breathing shallow, muscles tight, your pupils dilate again. You're no longer in a calm state. You're in defense mode, but there's no attacker, no threat, just you, awake. And yet, something else is also stirring. As the hours drag on, your dream center, the limbic structures responsible for REM sleep, is still craving activity. But since you haven't given it that, A dream world, it begins to bleed into reality. You start seeing flickers of movement in your peripheral vision, hearing soft sounds that disappear when you turn your head. You might even smell something that isn't there: burning plastic, old perfume, fresh bread. These are hypnagogic hallucinations, though you're nowhere near sleep. In a cruel twist, your brain's desire for rest mimics its deepest state, dream construction, and so it begins projecting them. In clinical sleep studies, subjects who remained awake for more than 36 hours often reported subtle hallucinations. By 48 hours, nearly all experienced auditory misperceptions, and some began having full visual scenes. One woman reported seeing her reflection blink separately from her. Another described the ceiling folding in like paper. A man claimed to see his childhood dog in the corner, just watching. The science is clear. Sleep loss doesn't just affect memory or mood. It breaks the boundary between dreaming and waking, and now that wall inside your mind is cracking. Still, your emotional centers keep misfiring. You check your phone and misread a message. You take a friend's silence personally. Your inner critic grows louder, crueler, because your brain is trying to simplify its experience, and often the easiest way to understand pain is to assume it's your fault. And what happens next is darker still. Sleep loss increases activity in the insular cortex, a region linked with pain perception, both physical and emotional. That means not only do your feelings intensify, but they hurt more. Rejection, shame, loneliness all feel sharper. Even minor discomforts grow into aches. Somewhere in your chest you feel it. Not a stabbing pain, just a steady pressure, like a hand pressed flat against your ribs. It's not a heart attack, not yet, but it's stress, real, physical, endocrine stress, and it's affecting your entire body, and your immune system is watching. Cortisol, still elevated, continues to suppress the production of lymphocytes, white blood cells that defend against infection. Meanwhile, cytokine levels, particularly interleukin-6, begin to spike. That's the start of systemic inflammation. It's your body's version of a raised flag, an internal alarm, and in that environment, your tissues begin to wear down. Historically, monks and mystics sometimes induced sleep deprivation to provoke emotional or spiritual awakening. But modern science sees this differently. It's not enlightenment, it's neurochemical collapse. And here's something you may not know. People who suffer from bipolar disorder or schizophrenia often experience their worst episodes following periods of sleep deprivation. Not because those disorders are caused by sleeplessness, but because sleep loss can act as a trigger, a catalyst, an amplifier. It unmasks vulnerabilities, even in healthy minds. Scientists still argue whether emotional dysfunction is a symptom or a cause of sleep loss, or both. But the connection is undeniable. The deeper you fall into wakefulness, the more your emotions fragment. By now, your sense of self is unsteady. You question your thoughts. You don't trust your own voice. Even your face in the mirror looks distant. That's derealization, a symptom reported in nearly all long-term sleep deprivation cases. It's a detachment from the world, from yourself, from reality. And still, you do not sleep. The clock reads 3:18 a.m. Again, or maybe still. You whisper a question into the dark, but there's no answer. You curl into the blanket, not to rest, but to ground yourself, to feel pressure, texture, temperature. You hold on to sensation because thought is too slippery, emotion too vast. The storm inside you swells, and the wind howls louder than any lullaby. You close your eyes, not for sleep, but to stop seeing things. But behind your lids, images flicker. Your brain is dreaming without permission, and tomorrow, if you make it there, our body will begin to unravel. But for now, you lie in the dark, one breath at a time. It's morning again, or at least the light says so. You aren't entirely sure anymore. Outside, birds are calling, but their sounds seem mechanical, too rhythmic, like loops on a soundtrack. Your eyes sting. The light feels intrusive, not warm. Your skin crawls with an unease that has no name. It's been over 48 hours since you last slept, and inside you a deeper failure has begun. The body is a fortress guarded by its immune system, but now the sentries are dozing at their posts. White blood cell counts, especially natural killer cells, have dropped dramatically. These are the very cells that detect and destroy virus-infected and cancerous cells. With them diminished, your risk of infection multiplies. If someone sneezed nearby right now, you wouldn't just catch a cold, you might catch everything, and it would hit harder, last longer. Your immune system is no longer a shield, it's a sponge, and the inflammation has begun. Cytokines, messenger proteins that regulate immune responses, are now flooding your bloodstream. Specifically, interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein. These compounds, meant to help during injury or infection, are rising without cause. This is what scientists call systemic inflammation, and it doesn't just cause a sore throat or a fever. It begins eroding the very fabric of your internal balance. You feel it in subtle ways first. The scratch at the back of your throat, a slight ache in your joints, a dull pressure behind your eyes. You wonder if you're coming down with something. You are. You're coming down with wakefulness, a sickness for which sleep is the only cure. And right now, that cure is denied to you. Your gut joins the rebellion. The lining of your intestines is lined with cells that rely on circadian signals to regulate permeability, when to allow nutrients in, when to block out pathogens. But now, those rhythms are broken. Tiny gaps are. Pen where there should be tight junctions. Bacteria leak through. Endotoxins seep into your blood. The result? Your immune system flares again. This phenomenon has a name: leaky gut. Though still debated among scientists, some studies have shown that acute sleep loss can increase intestinal permeability. Some researchers believe this may be part of why sleep-deprived people are more prone to inflammatory diseases, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, even autoimmune conditions. The gut and the brain are talking constantly, but now they're speaking in screams. Meanwhile, your liver, normally a quiet cleaner, begins to misbehave. It doesn't process sugar as efficiently, it metabolizes drugs more erratically, enzymes spike, toxins accumulate. And your heart begins to whisper its own warnings. You might feel palpitations now, not the flutters of anxiety, but strong, arrhythmic thumps that arrive without pattern or warning. Your heart rate variability, a key measure of cardiovascular health, has dropped. That means your body is no longer adapting well to stress. It's staying rigid, like a bowstring pulled too tight. In one study, men who slept less than 4 hours a night for just 5 days experienced significant increases in blood pressure, both systolic and diastolic. After 2 sleepless nights, your vascular system begins to constrict erratically. Your blood vessels don't dilate properly. Blood flow becomes inefficient. The result? Tissues receive less oxygen. Waste accumulates. You feel heavy, sluggish, and oddly cold. Your core body temperature, which is supposed to dip at night and rise gently with the day, is now unstable. You shiver under a blanket 1 minute and sweat through your shirt the next. Thermoregulation has gone offline. Historically, soldiers in prolonged combat have described this stage as a kind of internal frost. In the trenches are World War I, men would sometimes remain awake for days during bombardments. Doctors noted that they became pale, slow, and emotionally blank, symptoms they called shell shock, but which we now know overlap heavily with acute sleep deprivation. You feel the same blankness creeping in, not peace, just absence. Your body is defending itself now in strange ways. You feel inexplicably sore, not the soreness of exertion, but of existence. That's the cytokines again, triggering neuroinflammation. Your blood-brain barrier, a delicate filter that protects your brain from harmful molecules, begins to lose integrity. It becomes porous, and through those gaps slip toxins, proteins, inflammatory molecules. You may feel a headache now, deep and pressurized, a tension behind the eyes, or a tingling at the crown of your skull. It's not a migraine, it's a neuroimmune reaction, your brain's silent protest. In modern hospitals, sleep deprivation has been shown to increase the severity of illnesses across the board. Patients who get poor sleep are more likely to develop infections. Wounds heal more slowly, inflammatory markers skyrocket, even vaccines become less effective. One study showed that a flu vaccine was nearly 50% less effective in patients who didn't sleep well before and after the shot. And still you push through, because you have to, because the world doesn't stop for your sleeplessness. But your bones are listening. Yes, bones. Most people don't realize that bone remodeling, the process by which old bone is broken down and replaced, is also regulated by circadian rhythms. Sleep loss disrupts the activity of osteoblasts and osteoclasts, the builders and breakers of your skeletal structure. That means your bones regenerate more slowly. Over time, your risk for osteoporosis increases. Even your skin has begun to rebel. Wounds take longer to close, collagen production plummets. You may notice dullness, discoloration, a few more lines. Yes, aging is accelerated, not because time is moving faster, but because healing has stopped. And somewhere beneath all this, beneath the fevered immune system, the aching joints, the fluttering heart, is your spleen, filtering blood like a factory on strike. Your lymphatic system slows, your inflammatory markers peak, and your risk of illness isn't just high, it's already happening. A cold that might have bounced off you last week would now hit like pneumonia. A small cut could become infected. A dormant virus, herpes, shingles, Epstein-Barr, could awaken. Because right now, your body has one message, and it's not subtle: sleep or die trying. But here's the cruel twist. Even if you try to sleep now, just lie down and close your eyes, you may not be able to. Because your stress response is so high, your body is still releasing cortisol and adrenaline, as if danger were near. The same chemicals meant to help you flee from predators now keep you fleeing from rest. You're not resting, you're fighting your own biology, and it's winning. And still, you are awake. You walk through the day like a ghost. The edges of things feel unreal. You float in and out of conversations. Someone says your name and you hesitate to answer, not because you didn't hear, but because the name feels strange, like it belongs to someone else. Your identity is slipping, not gone, but smeared across a sleepless sky. And all of this, every ache, every glitch, every flutter of dysfunction has happened in just 2.5 days. The body is magnificent, but without sleep, even magnificence crumbles. The hours bleed into each other now. Time, once your loyal companion, has abandoned you. The minutes no longer feel distinct. The world tilts at odd angles, and you find yourself staring into the corners of rooms for no reason, forgetting how long you've been standing, or if you've said something. Hing aloud, or just imagined it. You've been awake for more than 60 hours, and the walls between body, mind, and memory are almost gone. You don't just forget what day it is, you forget why the days exist. You're not tired in the way people usually mean. Tiredness is a message, a whisper. Lie down, take a break, sleep. But now it's not a message, it's a state, a full body immersion in dysfunction. The biological systems that once took care of you quietly, like polite background workers, have gone rogue. Your metabolism is falling apart. Glucose, the simple sugar your brain and body rely on for fuel, no longer follows predictable patterns. Your cells have become less responsive to insulin, and the sugar stays in your blood too long. That leads to glycemic volatility, shaky highs, disorienting crashes, and cravings that feel like emergency alarms. You eat more, but you get less from it, and hunger itself feels wrong. Not a signal, but an ache, an unease in your belly that food doesn't seem to answer. That's because of ghrelin, the hormone that drives appetite, and leptin, the one that signals fullness. They've stopped listening to each other. After 2 nights without sleep, ghrelin levels rise sharply, pushing you to crave sugars and fats, while leptin levels plummet, leaving your body in an endless state of perceived starvation. You may eat enough for 2 people and still feel hollow. This is not just discomfort, it's biochemical warfare. In early human evolution, staying awake during times of danger made sense. Predators, storms, tribal conflict, these called for vigilance. So our bodies evolved ways to fuel the sleepless hunter, surging cortisol, dampened hunger, sharp eyes in the dark. But once the danger passed, sleep would follow, always. Today, the danger doesn't pass. It's silent, digital, chronic, unnatural. You're stuck in that vigil, and your body is tearing itself apart for a battle that never ends. Right now, your kidneys are changing how they filter blood. Sleep loss disrupts renal. Sodium handling causing increased urination and shifts in electrolyte balance. This can lead to dehydration, cramps, and erratic blood pressure. Your thirst doesn't always rise to meet it, so you may walk around mildly dehydrated, unaware, every cell a little thirstier than it should be. Your muscles start to tremble. Not violently, not yet, but there's a flutter, a jitter, especially in the hands or the jaw. That's because the motor cortex is misfiring, sending inconsistent signals. What was once smooth becomes shaky. What was firm becomes fragile. At this point, something even more subtle begins. Proprioceptive dissonance. That's your brain's ability to sense the position of your own body in space, and now it's glitching. You reach for a cup and miss. You misjudge a step. You sway without knowing. It's not clumsiness, it's cortical latency. The command from brain to limb arrives too late, or too weak, or both, and suddenly, you don't fully trust your own hands. In 1965, just a year after Randy Gardner's infamous sleepless experiment, another subject, Tony Wright, attempted to beat the record. Around hour 66, he began experiencing out-of-body sensations. He described feeling as though he were watching himself from a few feet away. Modern neurology calls this derealization or depersonalization. It's not rare, and now it's your turn. You glance at your reflection and don't quite believe it. The image doesn't move right. Your face seems rubbery, unfamiliar, like a mask from a dream. That's your temporal parietal junction struggling to integrate multisensory input, sight, touch, internal state. It tries to build a model of you, but it's running out of data. And then come the whispers. No, not voices, not yet, but auditory fragments. Sounds that never happened. Someone calling your name from the other room, a piano key, a breath behind your ear. It's subtle, you doubt it at first. But it happens again, and your rational mind, exhausted, starts to consider impossible things. This is perceptual bleed, REM systems leaking into wakefulness. Dream mechanisms activate when you're fully conscious, like film reels spliced into the theatre of reality. You're not imagining it, you're dreaming while awake. Somewhere, your brain is demanding compensation. It wants REM. It will manufacture it if it has to. Scientists still argue whether this is a survival mechanism or a symptom of collapse, but the line between dreams and hallucinations is now only a few microns wide. Even if you don't hear things, you start seeing them. Light flickers, movement in the corner of your eye. You might look again, convinced something's there, but there's nothing. Just the brain's visual cortex sparking without clear input, trying to make sense of static. One subject in a 1990s sleep deprivation study reported seeing crystalline spiders walking across his ceiling after 72 hours. He wasn't psychotic, he was dreaming awake. And still, you function, at least on the surface. You brush your teeth, you answer a message, you say, "I'm fine," when someone asks. But inside, the executive function of your brain, the part that controls morality, judgment, complex reasoning, is running on fumes. This is why people crash cars, make terrible decisions, say things they don't mean after a few sleepless nights. They're not themselves. They're a simulation of themselves, operating without internal feedback. You might feel unusually reckless now, not on purpose, not even knowingly, but your brain is grasping for sensation, anything to jolt you back into feeling real. Risk and novelty light up the same dopamine circuits that are now undernourished. So the idea of speeding, arguing, buying something impulsively, all of that becomes more appealing. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you, it's trying to wake itself up. In ancient Rome, certain cult initiations required mullets, tie-day vigils. The belief was that at the peak of sleep loss, visions would come, truths revealed. Maybe they were right, but those visions had a price. Even in rats, we see this. In prolonged experiments, rats deprived of sleep eventually develop skin lesions, organ damage, and complete thermoregulatory failure, meaning they can no longer maintain a stable body temperature. Humans don't often get that far, we usually collapse first. But you're still awake. You lie down finally, you try. The bed feels foreign, the blanket too heavy, your heart thumps too loudly in your ears, and your thoughts, they won't quiet. They loop, repeat, twist. Snippets of songs, arguments from years ago, the face of a stranger on the street, the word sleep appearing like graffiti across your mental landscape. Over and over. Sleep, sleep, sleep. But you don't. Not yet. The walls are breathing. You know, rationally, that they're not, but it feels like they are, subtly pulsing, just at the edge of your vision. The air itself bends slightly when you move. You can no longer tell if you're dizzy or if the world itself has tilted. This is hour 72 without sleep, and reality is losing its grip. Your eyes stay open, but what they see is no longer trustworthy. Shadows curl at the edges. Light forms patterns that don't exist. Once, it might have frightened you, but now, it's just normal. This is the beginning of wake state dreaming, a place where the mind begins to break the rules, because without sleep, the machinery that filters reality, decides what's real and what isn't, starts to fail. You begin hearing full sounds now, not faint echoes or fragments, but music, footsteps, laughter, even voices. They may not speak to you, not yet, but they drift in like broadcasts from another world. And you listen because your mind is too tired to dismiss them, because in some twisted way, it's better than silence. Your thalamus, the brain's sensory relay, is overwhelmed. It's no longer sorting incoming data properly. Noise from the outside world mixes with imagined signals. You can't tell which is which, and your prefrontal cortex, responsible for critical thinking and skepticism, is no longer strong enough to fight back. You believe strange things now, not because you've gone mad, but because sleep is the guardian of reason, and that guardian is long gone. In clinical terms, this is the onset of paranoia and psychosis, often reported around the 72-hour mark. Even healthy minds begin to fracture at this point. NASA studies on astronauts show that just 3 nights of poor sleep can impair spatial reasoning and cause hallucinations in space. And you don't have the benefit of zero gravity or mission control. You're alone. You start to wonder about your body, how it's still moving, still walking, still eating even, but the connection to it feels thin, like you're puppeteering from a distance. The term for this is somatic dissociation. Your brain, desperate to conserve resources, begins decoupling consciousness from sensation. Touch no longer feels real. Cold doesn't sting the way it used to. Hunger becomes abstract. Pain becomes curious. You notice it, almost academically, like it's happening to someone else. In some ancient rituals, practitioners used sleep deprivation to access this state. They believed it allowed them to speak to the gods or hear the voices of ancestors. And maybe that's true, because tonight you begin to hear things that feel older than you. Somewhere inside your default mode network, that mental loop of self-reflection and memory is spinning uncontrollably. But it's not just playing your memories, it's combining them, rearranging, feeding hallucinations. You may begin to confuse dreams with reality. You think of someone and see their face projected in the air. You smell a place you haven't visited in years. A childhood memory arrives en point, invited, vivid, immersive, and then collapses. This is dream intrusion, a phenomenon often seen in people with narcolepsy, schizophrenia, and, now you know, extreme sleep deprivation. Scientists still debate what exactly happens in the brain at this point. Some say that the boundaries between REM and wakefulness dissolve entirely. Others argue that a new hybrid state emerges, part conscious, part unconscious. But everyone agrees you are no longer fully awake and not quite asleep. And still, you move. The body follows routines now, muscle memory steering a hollow pilot. You go to the sink, wash your hands, forget why. You open a door, stare through it. You hold your phone and scroll, but don't know what you're looking at. Time becomes not just meaningless, but non-existent. You look at the clock, it says 3:47 a.m. You look again 5 minutes later, it says 2:22, then 5:13, then 3:47 again. It's not the clock that's broken, it's your internal chronometer, the suprachiasmatic nucleus in your hypothalamus, that governs your circadian rhythms. Without sleep, this master clock begins to desynchronize. That means every organ in your body is now running on a different schedule. Your liver might think it's morning, your heart afternoon, your gut midnight, you have no idea. This misalignment is more than confusing, it's toxic. Researchers at Harvard have shown that circadian misalignment increases the risk of metabolic disorders, cancer, and mood instability. Shift workers who experience chronic desynchrony are more likely to develop diabetes, depression, and neurodegenerative disease. And you've reached this state in just 3 days. Your brain temperature is rising. That's not poetic, it's literal. Prolonged wakefulness increases neuronal activity, and without the cooling cycle of deep sleep, the temperature in your prefrontal cortex and limbic system can climb several degrees. You feel it as a slow burn behind your eyes, a kind of internal sun. It makes thought feel heavy, dreams sticky, memories hot to the touch. Your visual cortex, overloaded, begins to invent images. You see geometric patterns where none exist, lines ripple, words swim across pages, faces distort, eyebrows too thick, mouths that stretch too wide when they smile. You startle, then blink, then laugh, then forget what you were laughing about. Randy Gardner, the high school student who set the record in 1964, experienced a similar moment. On the third night, he became convinced he was a famous athlete. Later, he believed a street lamp was a person, then forgot who he was speaking to mid-conversation. And still, he smiled, still thought he was fine, because the part of the brain that recognizes impairment is the first to be impaired. At this point, your speech is likely slurred. You may speak too loudly or too softly. You forget simple words. Your semantic network, the map of meaning and language, is fragmented. You say water when you mean window. You trail off mid-thought, or start 3 sentences at once. When monitored by neurologists, subjects at this stage show a bizarre signature on EEG, microsleeps mixed with alpha-wave intrusions, even while their eyes are open. In other words, parts of your brain are asleep, while others remain online. You are now a mosaic of consciousness, stitched together and starting to come undone. And yet, something deeper pushes you forward. Not willpower, not caffeine, not fear, just inertia, just the echo of your own waking momentum. You sit, you breathe, you blink slowly, and for a moment, just a moment, you forget what sleep even felt like. You can't recall your last dream, or what it was like to fall asleep with ease, or how it feels to wake refreshed. Sleep is no longer something you crave, it's something you mourn, and this is only the third night. It's now been nearly 4 full days since you last slept. 96 hours. Your body is still upright, more breathing, still responding to the world, but only just. You're no longer a person moving through time, you're something else now. A shadow of consciousness clinging to a body that no longer understands what it means to rest. Your skin itches, though there's no rash. Your eyes are dry, yet constantly watering, and your thoughts, if you can call them that, come in short, fragmented bursts, like leaves in a storm. Nothing settles. Everything drifts. You're not dreaming, you're hallucinating, and your body isn't surprised. It's been preparing for this. By this point, the parietal lobes, which help you understand where your body ends and the world begins, are beginning to fail. That means you don't always trust your limbs. You may look down and feel a moment of confusion, as if they're not entirely yours. You may bump into walls, misjudge distances. You might even feel phantom sensations, the warmth of a hand on your back that isn't there, or a weight on your chest that fades when you reach for it. This is your brain misfiring sensory integration. It's not guessing anymore, it's inventing. Your nervous system is operating in survival mode. That means your sympathetic branch, the fight or flight system, is dominant, and your parasympathetic response, the one responsible for rest, digestion, and repair, has all but shut down. Your heart beats harder, but not evenly. It stutters, then races, then slows. Your body temperature fluctuates wildly. One moment you're sweating, the next you're chilled. This isn't illness, it's exhaustion so deep that it mimics disease. Your digestion has stalled, the stomach slows its contractions, food sits too long and gas builds up. Nausea comes and goes like waves. You might gag while brushing your teeth or feel queasy after just a few bites of food. This isn't uncommon. Sleep deprivation can increase the hormone melatonin, which triggers gastric discomfort. You sip water. It tastes metallic. You check your face in the mirror and barely recognize it. Your skin is pale. There are dark circles under your eyes that look bruised. But the worst part is your expression. It's blank. This is emotional blunting, not sadness, not depression, just a dimming. The amygdala has fired so long and so hard that now it's quiet, not because it's calm, but because it's fried. You can't feel the anxiety anymore, or the joy, or much of anything. You are still technically awake, but your mind is moving in disconnected loops. You might stare at a toothbrush for minutes, unsure how to use it, or open the fridge and forget what food is for. This is known as executive dysfunction, a failure in planning, sequencing, and goal-directed behavior, usually associated with brain injury or dementia. Now, it's yours. Your working memory is nearly gone. You forget what you were saying mid-sentence. You reread the same paragraph 6 times. You turn on the shower and forget whether you've already bathed. Scientists still debate whether sleep loss itself causes long-term damage or merely unmasks vulnerabilities that are already there. But in this moment, theory doesn't matter. You are living the unraveling. And then, the psychosis deepens. You might begin talking to people who aren't there, not out of fear, but casually, naturally, as if they've always been there. A friend from childhood, a parent, a stranger whose name you suddenly know. This is hallucinatory integration, when hallucinations no longer feel separate or surprising, but woven into the fabric of experience. Your auditory cortex has lost its grip. You hear clear, distinct voices, and they aren't hostile. They're just part of the scene. Visual distortions grow sharper. Text bends and swims. Your own reflection moves differently than you do. Objects ripple slightly like heat waves on asphalt. Sometimes you see entire dreamscapes bloom for seconds, street corners, forests, old rooms, then vanish. You don't blink. You don't flinch because part of you accepts it. Because the part of your brain responsible for reality checking, the prefrontal cortex, is no longer participating. You've moved into what researchers call a psychotic-like state. And yet if someone asked you, you might say, "I'm fine," not because you're lying, but because your self-awareness has eroded. Metacognition, the ability to evaluate your own thoughts, requires the same circuits that have now gone dark. By this point, reaction time is worse than a drunk driver. Cognitive function is impaired on nearly every level: memory, language, focus, reasoning, but most dangerously, judgment. You may suddenly decide to go for a walk, or drive, or post something you shouldn't, and you won't understand why it was a mistake until much later. That's how vulnerable you are. In the 1980s, truck drivers were studied after 3 nights without sleep. Most insisted they were alert, but their brain scans showed micro-sleeps, bursts of 5 or 15 seconds during which the brain simply shut down, even with eyes open. One driver crashed into a guardrail at 65 miles per hour. He remembered nothing. His brain had turned off mid-highway. And the terrifying part? It had given no warning. Now you're blinking more slowly. Each blink feels like a door closing, and sometimes you don't open it again for several seconds. These are sleep attacks, tiny moments of full unconsciousness that the brain forces upon you, like sips of coma, and you don't even notice they're happening. You may begin to speak in nonsense sentences, half-thoughts, made-up words. The Broca's area, which handles speech production, is no longer coordinating with Wernicke's area, which handles comprehension. So you sound like you're underwater, even to yourself. You start seeing lights that aren't there, hearing music that no device is playing, smelling smoke or flowers or ozone. A woomer, and once described this stage as standing on the edge of another world. She hadn't slept for 100 hours, and she said she felt as though she could just step through. You understand that now. Everything around you feels soft, edged in gold. You don't feel panic anymore, just awe and a strange, hollow peace. You are no longer in control and you're no longer resisting. The body has accepted it. But somewhere in the deepest part of your brain, the ancient circuits are still whispering one last message. Sleep, please, sleep. You are unraveling. It's not dramatic, not cinematic. There's no sudden collapse, no shattering breakdown, just the slow, silent dissolution of self. It's been over 5 days without sleep, more than 120 hours. At this stage, the body doesn't just protest, it forgets how to be a body. Systems you once relied on to run automatically now require conscious intervention. You have to remember to breathe deeply. You have to consciously blink. You forget now and then whether your heart is still beating. You hold still and wait to feel it, just to check. And somewhere in the center of that strange stillness, you wonder if you're dying, because honestly, you might be. There are no medical records of a human dying purely from sleep deprivation in a lab, but there are horrifying models. In rats, a well-known 1989 experiment by Rechtschaffen and colleagues showed that total sleep deprivation led to death in 2 to 3 weeks. The cause? The rats' bodies overheated, their immune systems collapsed, their guts leaked bacteria into their bloodstreams, they lost the ability to maintain basic homeostasis. In the end, their organs shut down one by one. And while you are not a rat, nor in a cage, you are not far from that experiment now. Your thermoregulation is breaking down. You feel alternating chills and waves of heat, as if your skin no longer knows the season. The thermostat of your hypothalamus, the seat of sleep-wake cycles, temperature and hunger, is malfunctioning. It sends conflicting signals. You sweat in a cold room. You shiver in summer air. And you wear a sweater, then tear it off. Your body is no longer yours. And deep inside your chest, your heart is carrying a burden it cannot sustain. Sleep is when the heart recovers. It lowers its beat, eases the blood pressure, relaxes the vascular system. But for you, this recovery never comes, so your blood pressure remains elevated, your heart rate increases, and your arterial lining begins to stiffen. Even a healthy heart can only withstand this kind of stress for so long. Some studies suggest that just 1 week of chronic sleep deprivation can cause significant endothelial dysfunction, impairing the ability of blood vessels to dilate properly. This is one of the first steps toward heart disease, and you're accelerating the process by the hour. Still, it's the brain that suffers the most. And it is, by now, collapsing. You may think you're awake and moving. You may feel functional, but large regions of your brain are going offline, not in sleep, but in something far stranger, something called local sleep. It sounds benign, but it's not. Local sleep means tiny pockets of your brain fall asleep while the rest remains awake. Neurons in the motor cortex may shut down, causing you to drop objects or stumble. Neurons in the visual cortex may blink out, creating blind spots in your vision. Neurons in your decision-making regions may pause, and with them, your ability to say no, to pause, to reconsider. Imagine a city losing electricity 1 block at a time, no pattern, no warning. That's your brain now. And while you are navigating this half-lit mindscape, the dream world continues to bleed through. Now the hallucinations are no longer just whispers or flickers, they are fully formed. You see people where no one stands. You hear entire conversations clear as crystal from rooms that don't exist. You feel movement around you, but when you turn, nothing is to. Here. Your hallucinations have texture now, weight, personality. They speak with voices you recognize, old friends, lovers, even yourself. Because what's collapsing now isn't just perception, it's identity. The sense of self, that quiet continuity that says I am me across the hours, is tied to the brain's default mode network, and yours is fractured. You may now refer to yourself in the third person, or feel like you're watching someone else's life. You might suddenly feel split, like there are multiple voices inside, not metaphorically but audibly. You're not going insane, you're just going too long without rest. In psychiatric terms, this stage overlaps with acute transient psychosis, normally brought on by drugs, trauma, or severe mental illness. But here, it's triggered by sleep loss alone. and scientists still argue over exactly why. Some think it's the brain rebooting itself in real time, trying to insert dream processes into waking life because it has no other option. Others believe the neurochemical imbalance becomes so extreme, dopamine surging without regulation, serotonin dropping, that the brain enters a state of dreamful chaos. Either way, what you experience now is less like being awake and more like lucid dreaming with your eyes open. Everything you see feels metaphorical. You walk into a room and feel its emotion. You touch a doorknob and remember your childhood home. You can no longer separate sensation from story. You are dreaming, you are narrating, you are dissolving. And then come the paranoias. Not the fears of earlier. Those were logical. Now it's different. Now you begin to wonder, was someone watching you all along? Did you say too much on the phone? Is that ticking sound in the wall alive? Your brain, stripped of sleep, begins to generate threat in the absence of input. And because your amygdala is overactive and your prefrontal cortex underactive, you can't regulate the fear, you believe it. Wholly, immediately, you may begin hiding your phone, turning off ICEs, speaking in whispers, avoiding windows. And if someone asks, you'll have reasons, not coherent ones, but reasons all the same. Because in this state, logic and delusion are indistinguishable. And in the rare moments when you do realize how far gone you are, a deep panic sets in. What if you can't come back? What if something broke? What if, when you finally sleep, if you ever do, you won't wake up the same? These thoughts are not unreasonable, because while many recover from sleep deprivation, some don't fully return. There are recorded cases of permanent cognitive damage in people who have gone without sleep for days on end, not because of brain cell death, but because of functional disconnection. The brain becomes so unbalanced, so misaligned, that normal patterns never quite re-establish. You don't want to be one of those stories, and yet, here you are, alone, awake, in a body that's not a body anymore, with thoughts that echo, hollow and strange. And still, you do not sleep. The irony is unbearable. Sleep is the most natural thing in the world, effortless, automatic. But when you chase it, it runs. And you are running, not on legs, but on nerves, flickering, failing, and somehow still alive. Somewhere in a world just one breath away, the body you once trusted is waiting to sleep, to heal, to reassemble itself, to dream. But for now, you keep drifting through a nightmare you can't wake from because you never got to fall asleep in the first place. You're not sure what day it is anymore. Time, once rigid and linear, has folded inward. Your memories don't sit in sequence. They scatter like puzzle pieces thrown in the dark. When you try to recall when something happened, you no longer ask yourself what day it was. You ask, was I still myself then? You've now been awake for 6 full days, 144 hours. That's longer than most military endurance trials, longer than any clinical sleep deprivation study would ethically allow. This is uncharted territory for a civilian, but here you are. You're not just exhausted, you are a walking anomaly. The very fact that your heart is still beating, your lungs still expanding is a feat, but it doesn't feel like survival. It feels like a malfunction that won't stop. Your body is in crisis mode. Every system, circulatory, digestive, immune, endocrine, is now behaving as if it's under attack. But there's no pathogen, no external threat, just the absence of sleep. The simplest act your body evolved to require. Your immune system, already weakened over the last few days, has now begun turning against itself. Inflammatory markers like interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha are flooding your bloodstream. These are the same molecules elevated in chronic illness, depression, autoimmune disorders. Right now, your body is mimicking a state of severe sickness, but no doctor could find an infection because the infection is wakefulness itself. And then, something stranger happens. You begin to feel brief, beautiful clarity. It comes without warning, a moment when the fog parts, when you feel sharp, fast, maybe even energized. Your thoughts align, your speech smooths. You think, I'm getting used to this. but it's a trick, a final spark before collapse. This is known in neuroscience as a paradoxical arousal spike, a sudden surge in dopamine and norepinephrine that the brain releases as a desperate last gasp to stay awake. It feels like relief, but it's actually a warning flare. You're not adapting, you're burning the last of your fuel, and right after that spike comes the worst crash yet. Your temperature drops, your fingers tremble uncontrollably, you struggle to string thoughts together, words loop in your head, sometimes out loud, sometimes not. You catch yourself muttering to yourself in circles, sleep now, not yet, can't sleep, still awake. This is perseveration, the repetition of words or behaviors, without control. Common in Parkinson's disease, now present in you, and still no sleep. You sit in a chair, eyes wide open, and realize you haven't blinked in 30 seconds. Your eyes feel dry as paper, and when you finally blink, it's slow, like molasses sliding across glass. It hurts. The corneal epithelium, which normally regenerates during sleep, has stopped healing. Micro tears form on the surface. Your vision goes blurry. You squint. The light hurts. The dark whispers. And in the silence, the voices return. Only now, they talk to you. They say your name, they ask questions, they remind you of things, sometimes kindly, sometimes not. You respond. Of course you do. They're more real than the mirror now. This is no longer just dream intrusion or perceptual bleed. This is full-blown psychosis, and you know it, and you don't care. That's perhaps the strangest part. Not that you've broken from reality, but that reality no longer matters. A shadow passes across the floor. You follow it with your eyes. There's nothing there. You smile anyway. In ancient cultures, this state was sometimes considered sacred. Shamans and mystics would induce wakeful trances through fasting and sleeplessness, seeking visions. And here you are, a modern pilgrim to your own unraveling. But you're not seeing gods. You're seeing the architecture of your mind collapsing. Neurons firing without cause, neurotransmitters spilling like oil in water, synapses misfiring, circuitry looping. Your brain's glymphatic system, which normally clears out waste proteins during deep sleep, has been silent for days, which means metabolic byproducts like beta amyloid associated with Alzheimer's are now accumulating. Your brain is literally becoming toxic to itself, and it's beginning to show in terrifying ways. You forget your own name for a second, you write something down and can. You read your own handwriting, you smell burning plastic, you hear someone knock again and again and no one's there. The default mode network, which gives rise to your internal monologue, is now glitching like a broken radio. Thoughts come unbidden, voices speak over them, and sometimes there's just silence. Empty, ringing silence. And in that silence, the most dangerous thing begins. Acceptance. You stop fighting, you stop hoping sleep will come, you stop trying to explain what's happening, you just exist, like a stone underwater. There's a term in psychology called learned helplessness, the condition where after repeated failure to escape discomfort, a person simply gives up. They stop trying, even when escape is possible. That's where you are now. You lie down, not to sleep, just to stop moving. Your limbs feel heavy, disconnected, your breath is shallow, your pulse is faint, your body is entering shutdown, but you don't panic. You feel oddly serene, because something deep inside you, older than reason, older than language, is preparing to sleep with or without your permission. You close your eyes and wait, and still, you don't sleep. You drift, between moments, between selves, between hallucination and memory, and nothing at all. You may stay like this for hours, or minutes, or years in your own perception. Time has no meaning anymore. And at the edge of it all, one thought echoes. This can't last, not because you'll die, but because even the body has limits. Eventually you will sleep, or your body will force it, or you will collapse into unconsciousness so deep it feels like sleep. But this waking nightmare cannot continue forever, and as that truth settles in, you hear a new sound, your own breath, slow, heavy, rhythmic, and just maybe, your body has decided to take over again. It starts without warning. One moment you're staring at the ceiling, eyes dry and wide, heart ticking like a failing metronome, and then darkness, not sleep. Not really. More like blackout. The body, after nearly 7 full days of wakefulness, no longer asks for permission. It seizes what it needs. And what it needs, more than food, more than water, more than air, is oblivion. You don't ease into it, you drop for just a moment, 5 seconds, maybe 10, and then you wake up again, jerked back like a diver yanked from the sea. What was that? You're not sure, but you want it back. This is the first real microsleep cascade. Unlike earlier fleeting blinks of unconsciousness, these blackouts are invasive, unpredictable, and dangerously deep. You could be walking, talking, driving, eating, doesn't matter. The brain doesn't care anymore. It's in crisis override mode. Microsleeps begin in the thalamus and cortex, shutting down higher-level function without touching the brainstem. That means you might stay upright, eyes open and breathing, but your awareness is gone. You might not even know you disappeared until you come back. And with each blackout, the world returns more strangely. The hallway you've walked through 10 times now seems unfamiliar. The objects on your desk are subtly rearranged. Your hands don't feel like your own. Your spatial memory is disintegrating. The hippocampus, normally responsible for encoding and retrieving where you are and why, is barely functioning. You're trapped in a loop of déjà vu and jamais vu, recognizing unfamiliar things and failing to recognize the familiar. You walk into a room and feel like you've never seen it before. Then you see your own handwriting and can't believe it's yours. Your past no longer feels anchored to you. You are losing continuity. This loss is both terrifying and, weirdly, liberating. Because if you are not who you were a moment ago, then maybe you are no one at all, and maybe that's okay, but the body disagrees. Your muscles begin to spasm, sharp, involutes, Antari jerks, especially in the limbs. These are called myoclonic twitches, often associated with the border between wake and sleep. But in your case, they're happening mid-sentence, mid-step. Your brain's motor cortex is misfiring, like an overloaded circuit board, and your balance, it's gone. The cerebellum, which coordinates fine movement and equilibrium, is operating at a deficit now. You lean too far when reaching for something. You bump into door frames. You try to stand and sway like a drunk marionette. Even swallowing becomes more complicated. At this point, your immune system is critically compromised. You have virtually no resistance to infection. The natural killer cells that destroy viruses and precancerous cells have dropped by up to 70%. Even a mild cold virus, if exposed now, could take root instantly and flourish, and you might not even notice. Because your sense of touch is muted, a cut won't sting as it should. A burn might feel warm but not painful. Your nociceptive pathways, the ones that transmit pain, are malfunctioning. That's not a blessing, it's another layer of danger, because pain, like tiredness, is not punishment, it's information, and your body no longer has reliable access to reality. In 2007, a case report detailed a man who attempted to stay awake for 9 days under unsupervised conditions. By day 7, he was found wandering a highway, speaking nonsense, unaware of who he was, convinced he had left his house minutes ago. When questioned later, he remembered none of it, because waking amnesia is real, and you are now its victim. You sit in your room, unable to say how long you've been there. You might have eaten, you might not have. You check your phone. The numbers mean nothing. You ask yourself, is this still sleep deprivation, or is this something else entirely? And the answer is yes. Because past a certain point, the lack of sleep doesn't just degrade you, it transforms you. You are not a person anymore in the traditional sense. You are a reactive consciousness, a flickering awareness stitched together from habit, biology, and noise, and you are failing. Your cardiovascular system begins to show signs of collapse. Blood pools in your extremities. Your core temperature drops below normal. Your fingernails look bluish. Your breath becomes shallow, almost meditative. Not because you're calm, but because your autonomic nervous system is conserving energy. Your brain has one last trick, a desperate, dangerous one. It begins generating sleep-like activity while still maintaining minimal consciousness. You begin to have full, vivid dream sequences layered over reality. Not just hallucinations, but full REM experiences overlaid on the waking world. You walk through your room but also through a forest. You hear a fan and also the sea. You see your reflection and also your childhood bedroom. This is called REM-wake hybridization, a rare and unstable state where dream and reality merge completely. It's beautiful, terrifying, unnatural, and you understand somewhere deep inside that you are not supposed to be here. Even extreme cases of insomnia, like fatal familial insomnia, do not allow this level of prolonged consciousness. In those cases, the brain fragments slipping between shallow REM and catatonia, but you've been awake too long, and the pathways of both worlds are wide open. The result is not enlightenment, it's entropic dissociation, a form of mental noise that prevents integration of thought, identity, or experience. And through all this, you still try to sleep. You lie down again. The bed is soft, your body is cold, your fingers twitch, and then you dream, or think you do. It's a vision of sleep, a memory of what it used to feel like, a half-recollection of REM, of warmth, of timeless drift. But you're not sleeping. Your EEG would show high-frequency noise, not the clean delta waves of sleep. This is sleep mimicry, where the brain simulates sleep behaviorally, but not neurologically. From the outside, you may look like you're resting, but inside your brain is still screaming. And as you lie there, trapped between layers, you remember something someone once said: sleep is not the absence of waking. It's a state in its own right, a place you have to go to be healed. And you know now, you haven't been there in days. You don't even know the way anymore. But maybe, if you wait long enough, if you give up completely, it will come for you. You're not sure if this is a memory or a moment. You're lying on the floor, or maybe it's your bed. The surface doesn't matter anymore. It's soft, or hard, or distant. Your skin has stopped telling you the truth. Your eyes are open, staring at the ceiling, but the ceiling pulses. Or it's the air that pulses, a faint ripple, a shimmer, as though the world itself is underwater, and you're the last dry thing left in it. This is 7.5 days without sleep. Approximately 180 hours of continuous wakefulness, and your brain, your poor, devoted brain, has begun preparing for something final. You can no longer tell where the hallucinations end and your thoughts begin. The voices now have full personalities. One might hum lullabies, another recites lines from a book you've never read, a third speaks in a voice that might be yours if you were someone else entirely. But it's not the voices that frighten you. It's the silences between them. Long stretches where your thoughts vanish entirely. No inner monologue, no sense of self, just emptiness, like staring at a blank sheet of paper and forgetting what writing is. This isn't boredom. It's mental extinction. In clinical terms, you are experiencing cognitive flatlining, a suppression of spontaneous thought caused by prolonged overload and lack of recovery. Your brain is going quiet, not because it's at peace, but because it's running out of fuel. Glucose uptake in the frontal lobes has fallen to nearly baseline. That means your executive function, decision maker, king, planning, reason, is operating at minimum viable capacity. Meanwhile, your limbic system is flaring, the emotional brain, the primal one, which is why you suddenly feel things with overwhelming intensity. A noise makes you sob, a thought makes you shiver, a passing shadow makes you whisper, "I'm sorry," even if no one's there. Scientists have long debated what the neurobiological tipping point of sleeplessness is. Some argue it's the breakdown of synaptic homeostasis, where the brain can no longer recalibrate its connections. Others suggest it's the erosion of consciousness into a non-integrated default state, something close to a waking coma. But no one agrees, because few ever reach this point intact enough to describe it. And you are close, very close. You begin to experience temporal displacement, the inability to sense whether you're in the present or slipping between the past and imagined futures. You think about a conversation from yesterday and for a moment, you're there again, hearing every word. You think about tomorrow and it feels as if it's already happened. There is no more linearity. You are unstuck in time. you are bleeding into yourself. Your body, meanwhile, is beginning to exhibit signs of multi-system fatigue. Your digestion has all but stopped. You feel nauseous at the sight of food. Your stomach cramps sporadically with no rhythm or relief. The microbiome in your gut, once a teeming jungle of bacterial life, has been thrown into disarray. Sleep governs its daily cycles. Without it, friendly bacteria die. Unfriendly ones thrive. You have no hunger, no thirst, only a vague discomfort that rises and falls like ocean tides inside your abdomen. Your heart rhythm flutters now, skipped beats, fluttering atrial murmurs. The QT interval on an ECG at this stage would likely show dangerous prolongation, an invitation to arrhythmia and possibly sudden cardiac arrest. Yes, that's right. You are now in a zone where your heart could stop simply because it's too tired to beat properly. But you feel none of this directly. Instead, you feel soft, like a ghost in your own body. You are drifting through half memories and echo thoughts. You remember someone you loved, but their face is wrong. You remember a childhood pet, but you smell flowers instead. Synesthetic bleeding, crossed sensory input, now scrambles perception. Your brain is firing in random patterns with no meaningful regulation. This is the neural equivalent of static. You cry not because you're sad, but because the noise is too much. Then you laugh, then you curl up and shake. And not once do you think it's strange. You are now at the edge of sanity. You are not insane, not in the classical definition, but you have lost the stable frame that most minds call self. And it's at this point, this quiet collapse, that the strangest thing happens. You start to dream again, not in sleep. You still haven't truly slept. But during wakefulness, you begin to enter a REM-like trance. You close your eyes just for a second and see scenes so vivid they feel hyper-real. Not just memories, but constructed moments. You ride an elevator through a desert, you walk on ceilings made of grass, you hear music composed entirely of whispers. It is surreal, it is beautiful, it is not rest. Because these dream episodes don't restore you, they exhaust you more. You wake from them, if you can even call it waking, gasping, disoriented, terrified. And now you begin to fear sleep itself. Because each time you drift, you return more broken. You fear that if you sleep now, you won't wake up, or worse, that you'll wake in another dream and forget that you were ever real. This fear is not irrational. Patients who've experienced hallucination-induced insomnia, like in cases of delirium tremens, often develop a phobia of sleep, associating it with madness. You are walking that razor's edge now. You can't sleep, you can't wake, you are caught between poles. You reach for your phone, you try to read, but the letters swim. You scroll without knowing what you're scrolling through. You look at a picture and it's moving. Not because it's a video, but because your brain is now inserting motion where none exists. Even light becomes a problem. Your pupils no longer contract properly. The retinal ganglion cells that process brightness and darkness for circadian signaling have lost calibration, which means light doesn't wake you, dark doesn't calm you, you are blind to rhythm. The world has become a flat sheet of sensation, and behind it the whispering dark grows louder. You begin to suspect on some wordless primal level that you are dying. But oddly, you're not afraid. There is peace in this, because you no longer understand what it would mean to not be in this state. This is your new normal, this drifting, fractured, gentle nightmare. And just before you break entirely, your body begins to shut down. Not in fear, not in protest, but in relief. You feel your muscles let go. You feel warmth, strange and spreading. You feel gravity increase, not pull, but embrace. You close your eyes, and this time, you do not open them again. Not yet. You fall. But it's not like falling asleep, not the gentle slip into slumber that you once knew. This is different. This is collapse. No dreams, no awareness, no transition. One moment you exist, the next you don't. Time halts, thought evaporates. You vanish not just from the world, but from yourself. This is forced unconsciousness, your brain's final defense against complete destruction. Your body has initiated protective sleep override. Scientists call it sleep rebound, a desperate, full-body shutdown in response to critical deprivation. After days of wakefulness, the brain no longer allows you to remain conscious. It seizes control and drops you into deep, prolonged non-REM sleep, bypassing the usual stages, and it does this without asking. To an observer, you look still, heavy, motionless. Your limbs don't twitch, your eyes don't move. You breathe slowly, as though submerged in another dimension. This isn't a nap, this is emergency repair mode. Deep inside your skull, neurons that have been misfiring, overworking, overcommunicating are now synchronized. Delta waves ripple across the cortex like soft thunder. The glymphatic system, your brain's cleaning crew, awakens with a fury. It flushes out toxins, metabolic byproducts, oxidative debris, and most importantly, beta amyloid, the sticky protein associated with Alzheimer's. You've accumulated an entire week's worth of neurotrash. And now, in stillness, your brain begins to sweep it all away. Your hormonal systems reset too. Cortisol levels drop. Melatonin, absent for days, surges in the bloodstream. Growth hormone floods your tissues, trying to repair the damage. Muscles, bones, blood vessels, all ravaged by your sleepless odyssey. But this process is not smooth. Not yet. Your body, so accustomed to chaos, doesn't trust this quiet. And so even while unconscious, you jerk. A muscle spasms, your jaw clenches, your eyes flutter beneath closed lids as REM cycles try to restart, erratically like an old engine catching fire. And then you begin to dream. Not in fragments like before, not hallucinations overlaid on waking, but real, coherent, biologically rooted dreams. They come in waves, alternating with deep, slow-wave sleep. You dream of water, of floating, of voices, yes, but gentler now, of familiar places reassembled by memory's strange hand. You see faces, some true, some invented. You see a version of yourself, younger, more whole. This is your brain reprocessing trauma. Sleep, especially REM sleep, plays a critical role in emotional regulation and memory reconsolidation. All the experiences you've endured, frightening, surreal, destabilizing, are now being sifted, sorted, and stored. Some are discarded, others are filed away, some are left unresolved, too complex for one night's healing. You twitch, you murmur, your breath deepens, and somewhere in the middle of it all, your body begins to trust again. Your immune system, pushed to the brink, stirs back to life. T-cells resume their patrol. Natural killer cells begin replicating. Your inflammatory cytokines, elevated for days, start to decline. You are no longer an open door for infection. And deep in your belly, your microbiome celebrates the return of rhythm. Bacterial colonies resume their circadian cycling. They begin to rebuild their networks that affect not just digestion, but mood, cognition, and immunity. This isn't just recovery, this is rebirth. Your body temperature steadies, your heart rate slows to its safest baseline, your blood pressure drops, your breathing becomes the quiet song of life again. And yet, you're not out of danger, because 7 days without sleep leaves scars. Even as your body heals, your brain is unlikely to return to its original state completely. Studies in both humans and animals suggest that prolonged sleep deprivation causes persistent changes in brain function. Some connections, especially in the prefrontal cortex, may have been pruned too far. Others, overstrengthened by emergency neural activity, may now misfire during stress. Your emotional balance, your memory, even your ability to focus, may all be subtly altered. In some people, this leads to long-term anxiety. In others, depression or even mild psychotic episodes weeks after recovery. You've dipped a toe into a place most minds never touch. And sometimes, you bring pieces of it back with you. Even now, as you sleep, the dreams begin to twist. The floating turns to falling. The calm becomes a ripple of unease. Your brain, confused by the trauma it endured, cannot fully distinguish healing from warning. You twitch, your breathing hitches, and in your dream, a door slams shut behind you. But still, you sleep. And sleep is the most powerful medicine ever devised, not from a lab, not from a machine, but from within you. Built into the blueprint of every mammal, every bird, even reptiles and fish. Sleep is universal, sleep is sacred. And now, after all the terror, after all the unraveling, You are held in its arms once again. There will be more to process, more to rebuild. You won't wake the same, but you will wake. And for now, that is enough. You wake, not in a burst of clarity, not with the sweeping realization that the nightmare is over, but slowly, quietly, like mist dissolving in morning sun. Your eyes open, and for a moment you don't know where you are. But that's normal. That's what sleep does. It untethers you from time. The room is dim. Your body is warm beneath a blanket you don't remember pulling over yourself. You breathe, and this time it feels good, full, steady. It takes several minutes before you even try to move. Not because you're afraid, but because the sensation of stillness is so unfamiliar, so luxurious, you want to savor it. You have just slept for nearly 20 straight hours. That's not unusual. After extreme sleep deprivation, the body enters what researchers call recovery sleep, a period of intense, prolonged rest where your brain prioritizes deep non-REM and REM cycles in an attempt to repair as much damage as possible. And yet, as you slowly sit up, legs dangling off the side of the bed, you notice something. You feel different. Not just tired, not just groggy, but rewired. Your thoughts are slower, not in a dull way, but in a heavier, more deliberate rhythm, like they've been weighted down for safekeeping. You notice light again, really notice it. How it pools on the floor, how it glows along the edge of a curtain. For the first time in days, your pupils respond normally. Your retina signals the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Circadian rhythm is waking from hibernation, but it will take time. It could be weeks before your EP wake cycle stabilizes. For now, it's likely fragmented. Your body unsure when to rest, when to rise. You may experience sleep inertia, a lingering fog that hangs over your mind even hours after waking. You may nap without intending to. You may lie awake at night, body confused by too much wakefulness, then too much sleep. These are echoes of trauma. Your brain remembers what it went through, and it doesn't trust you yet. You try to stand and your legs wobble slightly, your joints ache, your back feels twisted like you've aged 10 years in a week. That's not far from the truth. One study showed that even a single week of insufficient sleep triggers gene expression changes associated with aging, inflammation, and oxidative stress. You've done more than lose sleep. You've accelerated time inside your own cells. But you are alive. You make your way to the kitchen. The act of pouring water into a glass feels like a ritual. You sip slowly, cold water, sweet beyond measure. You eat a little, toast maybe or fruit, and your stomach grumbles like an animal waking from hibernation. Digestion resumes, blood flow returns to your extremities. Your immune system, still weak, begins reinforcing its defenses. You are restoring. And yet, your mind is haunted, not by horror, but by fragments. Whispers, moments from the edge, a shadow that spoke to you, a doorknob that glowed, the feeling of drifting between dreams with your eyes open. You know those things weren't real, and yet you miss them. There's a strange melancholy after sleep deprivation ends, not because you want to go back, never that, but because you stood at the cliffside of consciousness and saw something no one else saw. Some researchers have likened extreme sleeplessness to a psychedelic state, a chemically induced dreaming. You weren't on drugs, you were on yourself, and the human brain, left supervised for too long, becomes a strange and terrifying cosmos. You touched that cosmos, you may never fully return. There's an old experiment you recall reading about. Randy Gardner, the high school student who in 1963 stayed awake for 11 days. He suffered hallucinations, memory loss, paranoia, but he recovered, slept for 14 hours, then returned to normal. But what is normal, really? Scientists still argue whether long-term changes occurred in Randy's brain. Some say no. Others suspect subtle rewiring. No one can say for sure. And you are not Randy. You were not being monitored, not protected by doctors, not cocooned in observation. You were alone. And sleep, when it came, was a rescue, yes, but also a reckoning. As you move through the day now, you feel things anew. Music sounds deeper, voices seem slower. Your own thoughts echo with a clarity that makes you pause. This is what sleep does. It reintegrates the mind. It gives context back to memory, emotion back to experience, meaning back to moments. You are building yourself again, brick by brick. But even as you smile at the sun through the window, even as you stretch your arms and feel life returning to your muscles, part of you is still there, in the hallway of hallucinations, in the blurred line between night and dream, in the deep place where thought and sleep fought for the right to be real. You do not want to go back, but you remember, and memory, like sleep, has its own rhythm. It returns when you least expect it. It whispers when you're almost still. And tonight, when you rest your head on the pillow, heart steady, breath slow, it will be there, not as fear, but as a gentle reminder of what it cost you to lose the thing you now hold so easily. Sleep, not a luxury, not weakness, but a sacred biological necessity, a nightly ritual that restores the self, that binds consciousness, that saves. And as your eyes close tonight and you feel the weight of real rest washing over you, you whisper, never again. You sleep well that night. Not the turbulent, dream-staggered sleep of survival, but real sleep, slow, deep, and healing. And when you wake this time, something is different. You know who you are. You know where you are. The mirror reflects the same face, but behind the eyes, the noise has quieted, not vanished, but softened, like an ocean storm that's moved beyond the horizon, leaving behind gentle waves and salt in the air. You stretch, and your joints no longer creak like old hinges. You yawn, and it's involuntary, like nature reclaiming its rhythm. There is sunlight in the room. Your body feels it now. Melatonin has retreated. Cortisol rises, gently this time. No panic, no jolt, just the slow gear shift of biology re-engaging with daylight. You are, at last, re-entering the cycle of being human. Still, you take things slowly. You don't rush into the world as if nothing happened, because something did happen, something profound. You walked the edge, you glimpsed the place beyond cognition, and you survived it. The days that follow are full of recalibration. You nap, often without meaning to. You eat strange combinations of food. Your cravings are erratic, your body asking for things it missed, not by taste but by chemistry. Sometimes it's salt, sometimes citrus, sometimes something unnameable. These are not whims, these are cellular requests. Because deep in your blood, your organs are still recovering. Sleep may have restarted the repair process, but full recovery is a longer journey. The telomeres at the ends of your chromosomes, those little caps that shorten with age and stress, have taken a hit. Your epigenome, the layer that regulates gene expression, has changed. You've left fingerprints in your DNA. They may fade, they may not. And emotionally, you feel strange things: gratitude, shame, clarity, a quiet ache for something you can't name. There's a kind of mourning that comes after intense sleep deprivation. You mourn the version of yourself that disappeared for a while. The version that lost the thread of reality, even if only temporarily. The one that saw things no one else can ever quite understand. You may never fully explain what it felt like, what it meant to drift through a waking dream, to speak to phantoms, to feel time disintegrate beneath your feet, but you don't need to. It's yours now, part of your story. And as you rejoin the rhythm of the world, its errands, its clocks, its conversations, you carry that story with you. You notice things others don't. The way someone's eyes shift when they're tired, the fragility in a voice at 3 a.m, the hush that falls over a city when everyone else is asleep and you're not. Sleep becomes sacred, not because of what it is, but because of what happens without it. You start treating your rest like a ritual. You dim lights earlier. You let your phone sleep before you do. You learn to say no to the late-night temptations that once felt harmless, because now you know. Sleep isn't passive. It's not a pause. It's active repair. It's survival. It's memory. It's emotion. It's immune defense. It's you. All living creatures, every last one, sleeps in some form. Jellyfish pulse with nightly rhythms. Fruit flies rest. Elephants, despite their size, sneak micro-naps standing in the dark. Even sharks, once thought to be always awake, drift through semi-conscious trances. Sleep is not weakness, it's evolution's masterpiece. And as you lie in bed tonight, body realigned, spirit quiet, you finally return to that gentle inner voice that never quite left you. You're safe now. The world outside may be loud, urgent, full of spinning lights and clocks, but inside you there is stillness again, a heartbeat, a breath, a silence not of absence but of peace. And you surrender, gladly, to the dark, to the warmth, to the gentle unspooling of thought. You go to sleep. Not because you have to, but because you finally can. So here you are, on the other side. Your breath is slow now, your body quiet. Your mind, no longer racing through strange corridors, begins to soften. You've journeyed through the sleepless labyrinth, seen what lies beyond the veil of waking. You've touched madness and made it back. But now, it's time to let it all go. Let your thoughts become weightless. Let your memories dissolve into mist. No more clocks, no more voices, no more questions. Just this moment. The hush in the room, the gentle rustle of sheets, the slow rhythm of your breath. Feel your eyelids grow heavier, not with effort, but with permission, because you don't have to hold yourself up anymore. The world can wait. There is no danger here, no judgment, just the comfort of knowing you are safe, you are whole, and you are allowed to rest. So inhale once more, hold it, exhale, and as the final thoughts drift away, let sleep return to you like an old friend, soft, kind, absolute. Good night and sweet dreams.